Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. You are on live broadcast with me, Nitin Gokhale. And joining me today are two distinguished guests and experts on China. Jayadeva Ranade, a former intelligence officer, and of course, someone who watches China even more closely after his retirement from the Research and Analysis Wing. And Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, a mountain man who served all of his 38, 39 years in the army, almost in all the frontier, Himalayan frontier with China, and of course was also the brigade commander at Taiwan at one point where he dealt with the Chinese on ground, discussing with them, negotiating with them. But we will come back to both of them in a moment's time. But about an hour and a half ago at StratNews Global, we had done a breaking news talking about the roadmap for de-escalation that was decided at the meeting on 6th June last Saturday between the military delegations of either side. It lasted for 6 hours in two phases. The delegation leaders, Lieutenant General Harinder Singh from the Indian side and the commander of the military district, South Xinjiang military district, met for about half an hour one-on-one. And then the delegations joined them for a 2-hour meeting before lunch and another 3-hour meeting after lunch, in which several steps were decided for de-escalation. And some of the points that emerged at the end of that discussion that evening are these. I'm listing them one by one. The de-induction of facing or standoff points or de-escalation of standoff points at Finger 4 north of Pangangso Lake, PP14 and PP15 and PP17 Alpha or 17A at the Galwan Valley and the Shiok Galwan confluence would be done. These four main points were discussed. The fifth point was, of course, that the gradual de-escalation of the build-up, the military build-up that has happened in depth of each other's, their respective territories inside China and inside India would be done. But that point will come later. Over the next 10 days, brigadier and major general officers will discuss each of the contentious points, the points that I mentioned, the locations, and will come up with solutions. The expectation on the Indian side is that 3 locations de-induction is easy to do at PP14, PP15, and PP17 Alpha at the 2-star or 1-star level. But the standoff at Finger 4 or between the area between Finger 4 and Finger 8 would take another round of Lieutenant General level talks, which could follow the 1 and 2-star talks, which will happen in the next 10 days, starting 7th of June. Today we are on 9th of June. The final point that the Indian side made at the meeting on 6th June was that China, which started or initiated the build-up, the military build-up, of course, in its own area of the on its own side of the line of actual control, must start de-inducting first, go back to their peace locations deployment before everything can be said to be right. Finally, at Finger 4, India has set the precondition that the Chinese must withdraw to a position that they held on or before May 8. And why May 8? Because on May 8, Indian National Security Advisor spoke to a senior Chinese and Politburo member, Yang Jiechi, and they spoke at length and said that they will give directions to their military to cool it. So Indian military then waited for the Chinese to actually not take any action, but the Chinese did not adhere to the promise that was made by their senior leader, and they started building up in Finger 4 and Finger 5, which was then mirrored by India at Finger 4 and Finger 5. And then later, of course, now we know that there is a standoff there. So this was the essence of the breaking news that we have got you first in this afternoon, rather this evening. But we want to come to the main discussion topic that we have, and I have these two guests with me. And I want to start with Mr. Ranade and ask him that, you wrote a piece for us just 2 days ago. In fact, I think it was published on Monday yesterday, where you spoke accurately about the Chinese build-up and the military deployment. Now, one, why do you think that they did this build up? And two, what is it that they wanted to achieve by doing it?
Difficult questions to answer, Nitin, unless I get into the head of the military commanders there,
Right.
particularly Ping or whoever. But I mean, from what I see, basically, I would suggest two things straight away. Keeping in the background the state of our own bilateral relations over the years. And the first is that one intention certainly was to come up quickly and see whether A, we are caught off guard or not, and B, how quickly we respond at multiple points and not just one point of intrusion. So I think that was minimum one. The second was perhaps to come in as much as they can wherever or in certain predetermined points and then present us with a comply and try and see whether they can hang on to that territory to the next round. But the sign, the indication that they are willing to disengage at least in some areas, because I think there were a number of areas initially where they had come and where there were points of either confrontation or Chinese military activity. The fact that they are willing to go back is a good sign. But it's not a sign that makes me rest easy because they certainly would not have made such an investment of manpower, effort, and money at a time when Xi Jinping himself, at the National People's Congress that concluded recently, told the army to mind their pennies and be very careful in expenditure. So there is another agenda. I wouldn't hazard a guess as to what it could be. A lot depends on the geopolitical situation and our bilateral relations. But this, I don't think that we have seen the end of this chapter.
Okay. So, General Kulkarni, let me introduce you to other people who don't know. Of course, you are a famous person on in the military circles and the strategic circles, but you have served in Ladakh also as Chief of Staff of 14 Corps, and of course, your exploits at Siachen are well known as a young captain and later. But what do you think the Chinese were thinking when they came into Finger 4 and thought, or Finger 5 and 6 in that area? And they thought that there will be no Indian reaction. This has been happening before also. So why do you think they came in such a strength there?
Nitin, it's very essential to understand the Chinese mind, and no person better than Mr. Ranade to really know that they are absolute believers of the Sun Tzu's doctrines, and they know exactly they would like. And the famous thing about Sun Tzu's art of war is the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without a fight. And they would want this in whichever way they look at it. And I see, there are sometimes you would just want to push in special forces at places of their interest, only to give a political statement and have nothing, no territorial gain. Just make a political statement and leave at it, which they have done it in 2013, they've done it in 2015, they've even done it in 2017 with finally the Wuhan talks that took place in 2018, and then we know exactly what happened there. They also have ways of, striking first to gain initiative. Now, how would that be? That in this, they would much want to give a political, a solution. I wouldn't even call it a solution, but a political victory, but no military confrontation. A political victory, no military confrontation. And yet another way that they would want to resolve certain things is a quick resolution, that is adversary's military defeat, and look for a political solution. Now, when you look at the way the Chinese mind is, now having served there, it surprises me. Why would they want to come at Finger 4? Finger 4, Finger 5, Finger 6, Finger 7, Finger 8, then going to Sirijap 2, 1 turning point. Now, that's the way they all are till they get to the Kannauj Fort. Now, this is the kind of deployment that we see all of it right across from the lake. We know from the post that we have, I can count every man walking on that road. There is nothing that I don't know. And we are right there. Now, all that is the perception. Now, the perception is every time we would go around to up to figure 8 patrol and get back. Now, when we do patrolling, we walk because even much up to say figure 1 and beyond, we may have a exit, but 2, 3, there is no road. We come up to figure 4 and then on the road, keep walking until figure. Should the patrol be coming from the other end, then we had a standard protocol, a banner drill, and we would disengage ourselves. Now, at figure 8, if I recollect correctly, there used to be an old couple which would be staying there. And invariably, they would be, they had some means of communicating to the Chinese camp at Sirjap 2 and beyond to say that, look, the patrol is coming. If that was the way, instantly the vehicles would drive down. If we would take 2-3 hours to walk, they would just take a few minutes. They would drive down till that place, banner drill, we would disengage, we would fall back, they would go back. But at this point of time, when at Galwan, that's where, when we're talking about patrol point 14, 15, 16, 17, 17 alpha, that's one place we would always be patrolling. There is nothing, they would come, we would disengage. If there was a face-off, banner drills, we went our ways, and that was the end of it.
Right.
Galwan, as I see, when anyone who has been over there at Galwan, from Galwan, there's that Galwan river which comes down, then Chengchangpo, and then come down, joins the Shok, and then the Shok goes along, goes to Nubra, and then carries on and gets into the Indus River. Very simple, nothing very this thing. I can tell you, Nitin, it would be suicidal for the Chinese even to think to come beyond patrol point 14, 15, 16, or 17 alpha. Nobody would venture. Why would they venture it? It's a plain open area. You can see a man and very spot him. And why would he get himself into a valley and then it will be suicide? He wouldn't want it. And that's one, never a disputed point. Never a disputed point.
Never.
But
yeah.
And so what you are trying to find out as to why would they be? No, they've come down. They've driven down from Sirjap right up to figure 8, 7, 6, and 4. And it's very simple. They drive down and they could drive back. There's nothing very much. And I don't think even what your breaking news have very clearly stated that from figure 4, they would, sort of get back a little bit. And Galwan, they want to totally disengage. And very soon you'll find that they will be going back. There is no requirement. A small stretch of road on which just about one vehicle can pass through. What would they want to have on it? And the fingers which are coming down those ridge, nothing. You can't even stand there and sit there. And if somebody doped, he probably might go into the Pangangso Lake. So there is no way anybody would be around that stretch of road.
So you know the area in detail. So I'll come back to you on that point. But I also want to show you, about 2 days ago on Sunday, the Chinese released a video of their forces practicing transportation or movement from far away in Wuhan or in the Hubei province and coming to the high altitude area. And if you can, play that video, this is the video you're seeing here. To me, it was laughable. It was mock-worthy. But I will like both of you one by one. First, Mr. Ranade, and then Sanjay Kulkarni. What do you think of this video and why they're trying to show this to the world? Is there some kind of information warfare that they think that they're going to unleash, Mr. Ranade?
Well, this is their standard technique, and particularly when there are times of tension or when they want to show how strong they are, they like to show that they have modern equipment, that the soldiers are well uniformed, that they have, the latest gear. So this is part of the display. It's meant for the domestic audience as well as for the international audience. But the international audience, when such videos are shown, like the one just now on your screen, where soldiers properly dressed, getting into an air-conditioned railway carriage and then going, one wonders whether they are really hard and tough as nails or not. The second is when they're going to the forward area, again, some of your video clips showed, they flew civilian airlines rather than transport military aircraft. So,
right.
People can view it differently, but the Chinese intent is to show that they have strong and powerful armed forces, which are in the latest equipment, latest uniform, and they're all willing to go. The message, as I said, is for the domestic audience as well as the foreign audience to try and overwhelm them or at least impress them.
But if you really see, and Sanjay, to you, you have dealt with the Chinese on the ground. You have had negotiations with them. They have a peculiar way of conducting their meetings and negotiations. I have attended at least two of them with you at various places in Tawang, at Bumla, and then once at Chushul. But tell us a little bit more about how the Chinese behave, and how do you pick up signals when they're speaking to you through various gestures of theirs.
Chinese are an old civilization. Everything matters. How he looks at you, what kind of body language does he have, how does he start his conversation? Does he have a cold look, or is he really warm enough to greet you?
There's your photograph there with the Chinese, I think, in Tawang, if I'm not mistaken. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now you find this is at Bumla. Now, at Bumla, if you recollect, we would have 4 standard border personnel meeting. 2 by us and 2 that they would host. One on their national day and the other thing. Now you notice this is the delegation leader who's talking with me now. Now he's trying to find out, and just see the kind of fist that he's showing, that you come here, I can go like this. And, because communication, and the third officer that I have with me is the interpreter. You can't see his interpreter, but of course you can see the badges of rank of the interpreter sitting next to the delegation leader. He's trying to convey that you are at this particular point. This is what you do. Why do you want to come? And then I have to explain him. No. This is what you are looking at it. This is your perception. This is this thing, and that is the way it is. Most of the time, Nitin, what happens is, and then you find now this particular photograph. At the end of it, you find nice exchange of mementos, gifts, and a final, good lot of drinking and kampai that takes place over there. It's absolutely very cordial. But to begin with, I must tell you, Nitin, it's very, very formal. He'll come absolutely, he'll sit down, very poker faced, nothing absolutely. The flag will be placed, everything will be there, the interpreter will be there, sentences will be said very clearly. He will nod his head, he will stop him, he'll understand what is the word that is being said, he'll nod his head to the interpreter, start now, stop, okay, now the next delegation, you can speak 2 sentences, I'll speak 1 sentence. It's absolutely orchestrated, very nice. All of it will be videoed. There will be another man who will be videoed, so that should there be a dispute tomorrow, there it is, he will come in front of you and be telling you whatever it is. Having said that, after that, you suddenly find when he's off for lunch and drink, guards off, he was being so official on the table, and after that, he's absolutely totally off. He will take off his cap, he'll leave it at one place and be looking for a company. Now, in his delegation, supposing the delegation is about 10 people, and you're the delegation leader, each one of them will come with a glass of wine or water. My God, it's such a hard drink, and you got to keep having one after the other. Chinese are very suspicious. Should you not be drinking, he's very careful about you, because then he feels that, well, he will be drinking, and here's an Indian delegation which does not drink. So people like me were not fond of drinking, but at least on that particular day, I would make sure I wouldn't disappoint them, and I would, and it would come by with 10 people. I'm sole delegation leader, and each one of them giving me 10 drinks on a span of about, say, 10 to 15 minutes. You can imagine my state of affairs.
That's right.
It would be. And when it was my turn once, I told my chap, I said, give me Coke here. I can't have glasses of wine. It's not possible. I might just feel uneasy. And believe you me, at that height of 16,000 feet, the Coke was worse than the wine, because the Coke developed a problem in the stomach. I said, wow, it's better to have wine than to have a Coke. So very nice people to deal with, but very official. And when you're dealing with them, with the kind of eats that they bring, well, I think if they can eat, you can. So there's no problem. But one thing which Mr. Ranade will also agree with me, if you've gone to them and whatever hospitality starts instantly, that means you're welcome, with a lot of warmth, this thing. But if you've gone and you find hospitality is about a little 15, 20 minutes later and the things, then you know that you are there and they are also there, but it's only official, nothing very, well, you have come here, we will not say anything. You can say what you want to say, but do not expect much from us. So when you say
So
Harinder
various
had a
they give you various signals in various ways of doing it.
absolutely, Nitin. The signals have to be understood very clear. Now, like what you said, Harinder had a one-to-one talk with the general over there, half an hour
Right.
talk. That is an indicator that, well, and let's sit down and just here, so that when they go on the table, you will find a good body language. And thereafter, when they've gone for 3.5 hours and 5 hours of talk, it's very cordial. And probably they must have done kampa and then broken off.
That's right.
That
So
is why you're breaking news.
let me turn to Mr. Ranade on the larger issue of suppose all this pans out the way one has got information from various sources that this is the roadmap that is going forward, and this is not the first time, as you will agree, that these kind of things that they come in, they try to come in, we stop them, then there is a standoff, there's a face off, then there's negotiations, they go back. Do you think they're ever going to stop these tricks, even in the near future or in the distant future, the Chinese?
Nitin, as I said earlier, they have a plan, they have an agenda, and they're working to a particular agenda. So I'm not looking at these as just intrusions or whatever, nor am I inclined to take them lightly as having come to this area or that area, and the area itself is not of significance. As I said, at the least, they are testing our responses, they're testing the speed of our responses, they're trying to check whether we are determined or not. And here, two factors come in: the military will and the political. Are both capable and ready to take us on, or is there a wavering on one side or not? They're looking at all that for the next step. And
Right.
I'm almost certain that they would have figured out what they're going to do and anticipated. Suppose India reacts in manner A, then what should we do? If India reacts in manner B, what should we do? Etc. So, which is why I say the chapter is not over. And if I can just add a couple of points to what General Kulkarni said very aptly about their body language, their signals, etc. Those are very important, and they use that as a form of communication. And in that sense, I just wanted to add this little bit of trivia, if I may, that though these Chinese communists we are dealing with, communists are known, with no offense to anyone, for being masters of deception, deceit, and camouflage. But that apart, they have taken on all the accoutrements, all the styles of the old emperors. So the big Chinese buildings, the offices, the mandarin sitting at one end, making you walk a long distance and you diminish each moment. All that paraphernalia they have retained, though they are communists. So to that extent, their mind, their mental attitude, goes in with what General Kulkarni said. They're a very old civilization, etc. But if I can just correct him on a small point, they were 3,000 years old till some years ago. Now they are 5,000. We are also.
That's true. But let's get back to what has happened since May 5th to now. And I think General Kulkarni briefly mentioned, and I cut him off there, about the Galwan Valley. The reports that have been there now, that when they started building in, of course, their depth areas, they brought in APCs, they brought in some guns to show, they brought in their frontline infantry units or mech units, and then India also did mirror deployment. And General Kulkarni, in that Galwan area or in Aksai Chin on their side, they tried to signal us, but from what I got to know, that India also built up within no time. India was not surprised. India was prepared for, because they got to know early the movement they picked up, and they got to know early. So India also built up with speed. Because of improved infrastructure, because of improved strength, now we are matching their deployments and their numbers, I guess. So, what does that signify to the Chinese really? Because over the years we have improved in our posture in the forward areas, isn't it?
Nitin, I must tell you, they test everything. Now, to what you just said, obviously every year they come for exercise. This year itself in January, they were already there. So they are exercising over there. They are wanting to show that what most people might think, that plateau is, very difficult, that we had an advantage of the Air Force, we will be able to lift more weight from the air bases which are in the plains, and then be able to go to high altitude. Weightlift capability and capacities of their aircraft will be much, much less, because they are already stationed at 14 and 15,000 feet, and then take off with that load may not be working out. So all that, and the Aksai roads, the highways that are there, they're not very far, just 20 kilometers away from where that is. So it's very, so therefore, and right from there, you saw the kind of thing, Depsang plains you talk about are these kind of plains. There's nothing, no road is required. You can drive wherever and anywhere that you want to. So it's a way of signaling that we have come so far. And even today, after all these discussions, should they go back, which even in 62, they went back 20 kilometers. There was not a problem. They know that they can quickly come on to anywhere and anywhere within about an hour or 2 hours if they so desired. So that was one. I'll give you a small example. He was at Bumla with me, one of the delegation leaders, and he wanted a certain something to be given to him. And he said, well, look, I'll meet you at Tulungla here. Now, where is Bumla? Now, where is Tulungla? Right? Now, I knew. I told him, okay, if you want, we went. He said, tomorrow, say 2 o'clock. Now, believe you me, even if I took 7 days, I can't get from Bumla to Tulungla here. Now, he's able to get from Bumla to Tulungla next day by 2 o'clock. So I told him, look, may not really be, I may not be there, but I'll have somebody placed there. He said, no, but I will be there. No, he told me, but I will be there, and I will like to exchange this thing with you over there. Now I was just quiet about the whole thing, but I'd flown in, and I would have been there within no time. There was not a this thing, but he was not flying. Yet another thing I must tell you, in my entire 39 years plus service in the army, I have never seen a Chinese helicopter flying along the LAC. I have never seen a Chinese fighter aircraft or the helicopter. They would always be driving. Either driving or mules. Driving or mules. Never helicopters and fighter aircraft. It's only now. That means they are trying to convey that they've arrived. Our helicopters are flying everywhere. Our aircraft, transport aircrafts are flying. Fighter aircraft, sometimes on exercises they are flying. But never will you see a Chinese. Now I'm told. Now imagine from Bumla, he was there at Tulungla, bang on. I had told the Tulungla officer there, who was a little below, I said, you walk up and get that. And I said, I want the photograph to see whether his name was Horton. I said, let me see if Horton was there. Sure enough, Horton was there. So you see,
Right. So their infrastructure is far better. But now we are also getting to the LAC much faster, isn't it?
Very fast. Now you find in Ladakh, there is no problem whatsoever. Anywhere and everywhere you are. The Chinese are also testing waters. They are also wanting to see. They are also trying to give a political statement that we are capable. Are you also, or are they wanting to judge, are they capable? Now they know that military confrontation is not an answer. He is convinced, as I see, that he is convinced military confrontation with India is not an answer. Then what is the answer? The answer is to very coarse. And it is like, the killing monkey to scare the tiger. Now, who's whom and where and how is what he's attempting to do. He's conveying it to all people in South Asia. Look, what am I and where am I? He's trying to convey to people in Southeast Asia. You see what we are. He's trying to convey even to the Americans that look, now you see where we can operate. You see our special forces. You see our paratroopers. You see what we are capable of. So don't mess around in the South China Sea. He's conveying it to Taiwan. He's conveying it to Hong Kong. That look, this is all that we have. So it is better that you toe our line. It's coercing, conveying a signal, a psychological warfare.
That's right. Mr. Ranade, in your piece that you wrote on Monday, your final concluding paragraph is actually a clincher in a way, because you said that if the solution has to be found for the current standoff, Xi Jinping or his cohorts will look for a solution which does not seem to be an egg on his face again after Doklam. So, is this the roadmap that I spoke about, or at least the information that I have? Is this something? Is this something that is acceptable to the leadership? Do you think it will be acceptable to the leadership, or there will be some obstacles in this roadmap?
Two points in this connection. First is that the Chinese have reiterated their claim on Galwan and on Ladakh during this time. On Galwan, they have said very categorically, and there was that Global Times article, I think 18th of May, saying that Galwan Valley in its entirety is Chinese territory. The second, and they have repeated that in some of the other media. The second is about Ladakh. They've reiterated that Ladakh is Chinese. It belongs to China. They've again repeated the history, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to say is they have stated their aim on this, and I would say more so on Chinese social media through Paitu, etc. It has circulated. While it may not have come in the English language media, which they know that we read that much, but it has come on the social media in China. Therefore, the Chinese people are aware of what is happening. Secondly, the Chinese military media has also pointed out all these things, and when they're talking about where Indian troops are and where they are, they're also adding these little bits about which is Chinese territory and which is not. So the message across China itself is that these territories are Chinese territories. In other words, that they have to get it back by 2021, if not 21, whenever. But the China dream says 2021. As far as the clincher, as you said, is concerned, there is pressure on Xi Jinping internally. He's certainly acting tough because there is a perception that they are losing ground in Hong Kong and with Taiwan. We are, of course, part of it. So that explains a whole lot of things. But after what happened in Doklam, where there was this disengagement, whatever maybe people are saying, but inside China, some of his conscious supporters, like the editor-in-chief of Global Times, H.S. Shin, like some of the military commentators like Wu Tungxian and Sung Chun Ping, etc., they came up and said, what is the matter? You have been saying that you're building up the PLA. You have invested so much in the PLA. You have said that we are now very powerful. What happened? How come we had to back off with India? And some others asked on Twitter and on the Chinese Weibo, etc., saying that what has India got from us? And the other question was, has India gained ground or has it lost ground? Questions like this. And then, of course, the clincher was the rumor that swept through China the day after the Doklam disengagement was announced, saying that the Chinese had paid $20 billion to us, or 20 billion yuan to us, in order to arrive at the disengagement. So, that was taken seriously. So the party paper, which is the People's Daily, the Chinese Ministry of National Defense, and the Chinese Foreign Ministry independently the next day issued official denials. So with that kind of a temperature there, at that point in time, I think there would still be some lingering feeling there that India did get the better of us at that point in time. Either that, or that the idea was to teach India a lesson and we did not teach them a lesson. So
Right.
I think the question is, what is Xi Jinping going to take back? What is he going to show to them as that he has got out of India? And in the PLA itself, the officer, in fact, who was commanding Shigatse at that point in time, he's now got a promotion and he's in Tibet military region. He was supposed to be one of the outstanding officers in the PLA, probably still is. He also would have that feeling, the rankling feeling that he has to get his back on India. After all, he can't be humbled and sent away. So these are factors that are going to be there. And I think in the national mood in China, Xi Jinping will want to show something. And that is why I say, what can he show? What will he show? Or is he going to justify it as wait and watch?
Right. So on that note, let me take some questions from our audience who have joined us live. There is this question from Hari Krishnan who's saying, are they distracting us or keeping us focused in the north, but their real agenda is in the Indian Ocean? Mr. Ranade, what do you think?
Oh, I think if you look at it like that, they can operate in both. They can operate in the Indian Ocean. They're already sending a flotilla regular basis to off the Gulf of Aden. They have got ships which are otherwise transiting and going to Pakistan. They're supplying ships to them. So
Right.
capacity there, but I don't think it's enough to cause us great concern. In the northern sector, they can come, and if their idea is, as their planning is, they want a short, swift, localized war where they can win and proclaim a victory. That is what their intent is. And I'm sure people like General Kulkarni and his successors are going to deny them that. It will be probably protracted and bloody and no winners. So I think that is where we will see North. But in the waters, at the moment I don't see a major threat from them.
That's right. Now, General Kulkarni, this is the other question posed by Pavan Until TV, where he says, why can't Army do the fencing and put surveillance along the LAC where the passes and border is porous? You can answer that question. You've been all over the frontier.
Just as a matter of interest, I must tell you, where the Chinese in the South China Sea, there are about a lakh of ships that pass through the Malacca Straits. There are just about 5,25,060 minutes in a year. So you can well imagine every 5 minutes, there's a ship that is to pass through the Malacca Strait. And the amount of transport and the freight that China has to carry that weight from the Malacca Strait is not a joke. And that is where the Chinese spend $50 billion on the Navy. The amount of money that we spend on our armed forces, they spend only on the Navy, and they are looking at 550 ship Navy. So that is the kind of thing, the interest in Indian Ocean has gone tremendously high. But notwithstanding that, it will take many years for them to be able to come to the level of this thing. But yeah, now coming to the point of why aren't we putting fencing, the way we've done it with Pakistan, why aren't we putting it's not workable. Firstly, because it's an LAC. It's not workable. The perception. Why is the dispute taking place every now and then? Why do you think a face-off takes place? That's because of perception. The moment you put surveillance, why is this thing? You're only creating more problems for him and for yourself. So it is better not to do like this and patrol the way it is going on, because that really doesn't work. It will only add up to another problem.
Right. So on that note, I think we are. Yes, you want to say something, Mr. Ranade?
To add to what General Kulkarni said when he was talking about the ships, and to answer the gentleman's question, we also have the Andamans there, because he made a reference to Malacca Strait, General Kulkarni, and with the Andamans there, I think that is quite a strong joke point as far as the Chinese are concerned.
Right. So I think we are running out of time. Just last thing that I wanted to mention was one question I want to take from Harsh Mehta, where he's saying, would Quad and the proposed D10 tame or curb the aggressive dragon going forward, or is just another institution which could only work on paper? Mr. Ranade?
I think Quad 10 is not something that is going to tame him right now. He is tackling the Quad 10 one by one in his way. He just dealt with Australia and given them an economic blow when they didn't respond. America, of course, is the problem that he has, which he wishes he doesn't, and he is still trying to calm them down. But I don't think that's likely. Which leaves us, if at all we get along with the Japanese. Japanese are far too strong for him in the Navy. We are proving that we are fairly resilient and going to be in a big thorn in his side at the very least. So I think I don't see the Quad by itself acting as a pressure point unless the Quad countries get out of COVID, and once they have, they actually put muscle to their intent. And frankly, I don't see that happening for some time at least.
Right. So on that note, let us look at some of the videos of jostling, which are sometimes actually comical, and in the kind of fisticuffs that happen. But this time, I'm told the fisticuffs were a little more, serious. And as you can see here, this is from last year in 2019. This is an undated video. We don't know what that is. But one interesting banner drill that we show, this is Pangang. So again, we don't know the date of this video, but it shows how narrow that north bank of Pangangso is. Where are the vehicles going to come? Although you can go by boats, as you can see, and this is that ritual they follow, General Kulkarni, of banner drill. Which they are coming up with this banner that you are on Indian territory, and you go back, or we say the same thing to the Chinese. So I think fairly peaceful in a way, but it does get sometimes physical, and I think it then leads to the episodes that we have seen from May onwards. And now probably this is perhaps Galwanwali, I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing. But this is the kind of thing that is there. But let's hope that the kind of roadmap that is being discussed, that has been evolved, will see the end of this particular irritant or episode. But as both of you have said very clearly, this is not going to be the end of it, and maybe we'll have to keep doing these programs very often to talk about what the Chinese intentions are. But thank you very much for the moment, and thanks for joining and giving us your insights. And thanks all the viewers who joined us live and have given their comments or are watching us. Don't forget to like us on our social media platforms, send feedback, comment on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until the next time, it's goodbye and good night from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.